So our first artist is Nataliia Svyrydiuk. You'll have to help me with the pronunciation of your last name. A Ukrainian folk art master. Nataliia is the head of Poltava Regional National Union of Folk Art Masters of Ukraine and a member of the International Association of Facilitators. She has also been awarded the Presidential Medal for her contribution to Ukrainian folk arts and is the founder of the Creative Hub and private ethnic collection, OTOLOVKO. Today, Nataliia will discuss Ukrainian folk female artists and how they are adapting and rediscovering themselves in terms of war, while demonstrating how she uses new techniques to encourage interest in traditional folk art. Remember, we will be taking questions from the audience, so be sure to type your questions in the comments section of the post at the top right of your screen. Welcome, Nataliia.
So we left off with about me, and I create traditional folk dolls. They are like a mix of something pre-Christian times and modern different techniques of embroidery and textile. They look like this. So as you can see, they called doll, but they don't actually have any like physical features. Then they don't have face, which is allowed us to create a certain projection on that doll, and we can create our own idea about that doll without actually seeing its face, or it doesn't have any limbs, it doesn't have any feet. It's like it's all one piece of fabric. So as I don't know, as many of you may know, this doll was a part of recognized by UNESCO World Heritage for Ukraine in last year. And now I'm working on my PhD in field of traditional Ukrainian knotted dolls and preparing documents for making it UNESCO recognize this doll as a world heritage, not only in Ukraine. And the story behind knotted doll is similar to many countries. So I believe many people will gonna recognize certain elements similar to their countries. And it's usually the oldest female in the family, like a grandma would make something to play for the kids, something from scraps of fabric or something. Here, I have a handkerchief. It's a basic thing, everybody has it. And from this, we can create a similar doll to this. So what we need is basically a handkerchief and some rope. That's it. And we're done with our doll. What we need is that we take some fabric, usually back in the days, people would like take pieces of fabric that was left over from sewing or embroidery, or for example, mom would like make a dress, let's say, and there would be some pieces left, and this is how the doll would be made. We take it into a handkerchief and we roll it like this, and here we have a head. It's already made a head. So then we just tie it up very, very tightly, and what we're left with is already a head, which is similar to this one. And then we need something, splash of color, and we add something. I have this fabric here. So we add this fabric, and basically we are done with our doll. What it does, back in the days when people still didn't knew about like psychology, psychiatry, and pedagogy, people didn't knew how this is actually helps kids to create their own ideas and their own scenarios in the games. So the doll doesn't have face, it doesn't have any limbs, it can be a boy, a girl, whatever. It can be used in different ways, it can be a good, a bad, anything is possible. So back from the days, it was still a very good like pedagogical tools to show that we are different, and then we cannot judge somebody by their looks only, and that what's inside is more important than what's outside. And currently I am creating these folk dolls that represents the state of Ukrainian art during the war. And it also represents the power of womanhood, because usually it was something that was done by women for women in the family. And the problem that we usually face as an artists and people that study it is that because the dolls made out of fabric, and they were always made out of fabric. Fabric is a very fragile material, and we cannot dig it up, for example, as historians would with clay or wood or bones. We hear about toys made from wood or clay or bones, and we can see them in museums. We cannot do this with fabric because like 10 years plus and this is all done, it's gone. So what historians rely on when they study a doll, they rely on tales, songs, different like folk, interesting tales or something from folklore, because it's the only way to learn about the dolls that happened like 100, 200 years ago. And the fragility of such materials made the research on dolls much harder, and it requires more framework in the field of retelling stories. The folklore behind Knotted Doll is of guardian. That's why the cross, it's a cross made out of string. This cross is later in the years became merged with Christian traditions that came in Ukraine. So it was a pre-Christian doll that find its way into Christian traditions because of this cross. In BC times, it was the sign of sun, then later it became the sign of Christ, and somehow it all intertwined and into music, tales, beliefs, and it's the only way that now we can trace how the dolls were made from pre-Christian times till present day. It is also important to note that even though many folk artists now are relocating or moving to different countries during the war, it is important to highlight that together they seem to bring Ukrainian traditions, knowledge and skills into the field of art of the countries where they're staying currently. We bring Ukrainian perspective on traditional forms of art, and from my personal experience of traveling around the world and visiting museums, many museums differentiate greatly between contemporary art, for example, and ethnology or folklore. In Ukraine, this symbiosis is more intertwined. Many contemporary artists redevelop old or foreign techniques in their works, or try to bring awareness to the forgotten patterns, traditions, or even songs. I personally know an artist that travels around rural areas of Ukraine, recording songs or dialects that are almost dead, and uses the lyrics of the songs in his paintings. It's similar how Hieronymus Bosch painted Netherlands proverbs or jokes in his paintings. So Ukrainian artists, contemporary artists, still doing this. And personally, for me, the biggest challenge since the war began became managing my own mental health, but also helping other fragile artist souls. And we all believe that artists are very, head in the clouds, they're very open-minded, but they're also very fragile. And the war showed that Ukrainian artists actually have a very strong inner self. And we all as a group discovered how mentally strong we are, and that we can create art during blackouts or portray the fragility of life. The similar to, for example, as how I make a doll and it can be just destroyed in a couple of months. And that's okay. This is kind of the whole philosophy of such doll, is that it's very short-lived, but it brings certain emotions to the kid and to adults also. I know a bunch of adults that just go play with these dolls and they feel an emotional connection with this doll, because it's less of a toy, more as a portrait of themselves, especially if you make such doll by yourself on your own. And we learn, all artists in Ukraine, I believe, learn to share our art more freely and to not expect any profit from it, obviously, because in the first few months it wasn't about the money. But later we discovered that a few months into the war, people started to be very interested in buying art, and we all get back to some form of normalcy, especially in the art field. Obviously, it's not on that level as it was before, but we slowly going that way, and we can see that people, even in the war, still enjoy art pieces and want to purchase them and want to own them, maybe in a different form, because we all kind of dislocated and we all buy less physical things, less items, because we just don't want stuff that would bring us down, so that we would be more mobile and easier for us to run around the world or around Ukraine. But art is still going very strong, and we discovered the beauty in portraying the art and war and how the philosophy intertwined between this. And we slowly going back on track. And I just wanted to thank everyone. I didn't do it in my first time. I wanted to thank everyone for participating in such event, and thank you for your donation and your work. And I would also like you to encourage and advise you to go and look up for contemporary folk artists from Ukraine and from your own countries. And because it's a big field that maybe not that popular as, for example, contemporary painters, but you can find them some pretty interesting people in there. Thank you.
Nataliia, thank you so much. That was so interesting. It really was. And I know that you have an Instagram page because I started following you, and you have beautiful photos of all of your artwork and the dolls that you make. Can you real quick tell us what your Instagram handle is in case anyone wants to follow you?
My Instagram handle is @nata.motanka. Motanka is how you say in Ukrainian this knotted doll. Knotted doll is more of a scientific term, and motanka is the term that people use in the everyday life. So it's nata.motanka.
Great, thank you. That was wonderful, Nataliia. If you don't mind sticking around for a little bit, we're going to have Margo with us next. So now I would like to introduce Margo Puhachenko, a Ukrainian artist and curator of the Creative Association Art Cluster. Margo is a graduate student of art studies and is specifically interested in performance art as well as cultural heritage preservation. She has organized events such as the Days of Ukrainian Culture events. She is also now organizing an international project focused on the same topic. Today, Margo will demonstrate how to make Vybika. And Margo, you'll have to let me know how to pronounce that correctly, because I am, like I said, the only one who's not Ukrainian on our staff, and I'm trying to practice. Also, as a reminder to those in our audience, remember at the end of Margo's presentation, you may ask questions. So leave those questions in the comment section of the post on the top right of your screen. Okay, Margo, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I won't start it in my presentation, and now, okay. I look my presentation with, yes, okay. One one word for me or about me. I'm artist and art curator, founder for Creative Association Art Cluster, and now we started organization Ukrainian Culture Day in Guelph in Canada and in Poland. Maybe everyone won't take part of this event. I'm postgraduate and student of art history in Kyiv University Hrinchenko. My research topic glass jewelry in Ukrainian folk costume, member of Shevchenko scientific community in Toronto, master technical of glassmaking, embroidering, embossing, jewelry collection and weaving, and collector of Ukrainian folk items. I want you you look at this photo, this an authentic antique photo for our Ukrainian costume. It's very interesting, and we in this costume we look different jewelry, different variant clothes, and next what I want to show its form. It's Vybika. Starting from 10-12th centuries, the Slavs organization weather and textile made the line from hemp, flax, spring lengths, wool, and later they turned them. Over the course of year number textile workshop paint in Kievan Rus aprons, hustkes, towels, flanks, fabric cloths, women's and humans formations, and then suits were made from Vybika fabrics. Also, the canvas was sold as fairs and exported from different countries, so needed ceravine. Different types of canvas were developed from Byzantium, Italy, Persia, India, Egypt. I'm sorry. It's the oldest picture in and example for Vybika. We show in this the first two women. In this woman, it's example this fabric. Here clothes when Vybika and printed. The tradition of making and processing canvas was continued by Ukrainian folk masters of Kievan regions, as well Podylia, Volyn, and Galiciana. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the 20th century, with the appearance of a large selection of available factory fabric, the technique of punching gradually disappeared from everyday life. Things with the use embossed fabrics became a decoration of any interior, brooch, and interesting accent. Highlight where unique various subjects were used as ornaments, plants, animal, figure geometrics. In particular, they depict image snakes, falcons, doves, firebirds, Pegasus, various fantasies of them. Of flowers and trees were very popular among plant motifs. And let's start the manufacturing process. Now I must yes. Okay. You look me. I don't. Okay. Such methods of drawing in Ukraine have been preserved in the culture of Kosov under the name of Vybika. This is we derive the pattern into the fabric. This method can still be used now, but is suitable only for natural fabrics. It's natural, learn. If we do everything according to the rules of technology, then we must prepare natural paints. In the Middle Ages, they were prepared from natural plants and stones. In our case, this is oil paints. And for example, I tied special paints for fabric, and the result, you look, result for oil, very for special, didn't stay the cool drives. So now we choose form for models. I have different. This is for this, look. And now I want this. We need start for the process of applying paint. It started this process applying of paint, very neat, and didn't thick. It's very it didn't very difficult, but it's important when you apply this paint in you didn't must stay in this, or maybe this, you can't. Very useful for attention. This form used in Vybika, maybe for stamp. In Lviv, stay designer for clothes, Ukrainian designer who used Vybika in her collection, very all time. Its name Sokil. I think Daria Sokil. Look, I finish. It's maybe for you very all. And now I must stay this form very carefully and clear touch. After this, I need press hard, tap and allow time for the paint to soak into the fabric. And we can wait maybe 3-4 minutes in the same time. Now for look you, after that, we also carefully lift it so as not lubricant the drawing. you look, it's this time I didn't normal time, and this place didn't correct, and all this correct. After here is the result. Fabric should be dry on a flat surface from all over 4 days, maybe depending of maybe a lot of time. Oh my God, it didn't look me. Maybe a lot of time, because for this process must be stay all time. I can repeat this in this process. This stamp form must stay a big time, because surface must take all paints. And when if I want to add this paints for this, it didn't correct and didn't super for this place, and only another stamp, another process. That's all.
Margo, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I enjoyed when you submitted your video, the process of making this design on the fabric. It's really interesting. I know a lot of people were looking forward to seeing that. So I know that we have questions from the audience for you too, and we are running short on time. So I wanted to ask if the two of you would be willing to go to our live feed page and answer a couple of questions that our audience had for you. I do have one here that we can go ahead and ask now. And someone asked, Nataliia, what made you pick this subject for your PhD?
Yeah, about what might be pick a subject. It's very easy, as folk dolls like this are something that's been inherited as an heirloom between the generations of women. I remember very vividly about how my great grandmother would made something like this from a handkerchief. And we had in our home we had wooden floors, and I remember being like 3 or 4 in socks, running on those wooden floors, and I would like slide on them. And this doll made from handkerchief, it has like ribbons on it, and when look, you see, it flies. It's like it runs around. You can like do this with her. Like you cannot do this with other dolls. And story like this, something of this childhood memory, which is like not really sure, is it real, is it not? But story like this about running around in socks on the wooden floors with the doll waving its like ribbons around is what made me be interested in this topic from the beginning. So it's a lifelong journey for me. It's not only about PhD, it's more, it's bigger than that. And now I have a grandmother and a daughter, and we both working on it in our creative hub. It's women only, and so it's a lifelong journey. It's not something that I just came up with. But thank you for the question though.
Thank you, Nataliia. I really appreciate you giving us a little more insight into this passion of yours and what led you here. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to be with us and share these very important parts of Ukrainian heritage and culture with us.